The Memorial Day event is kind of what we're talking about. Big weekend shaping up for Tennessee as we look back last year. Maybe no commitments that day, but it really planted the seed for a lot that came in later in June and July.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're going for here. I'm not going to say that one or two guys don't get the feels over the weekend, but what I'm saying is you establish yourself. I think you're kind of already established, but you kind of reestablish yourself heading into official visits. And so for Jaden Riddell, he just was in Athens. Obviously, he likes Rayola. Need to have a big weekend here. You're going to have several guys around him. That's a big deal. You look at the list. I mean, you got Caleb Beasley. He's the Vol commit. Chase Tyler's one I think you watch. I think Tennessee's going to start to push hard there. Melo Jones, the Georgia commit. That's a bit of a long shot. Boo Carter will be in town. That's a big deal. I look further on this. Having Carson Gentle in, having any of the committed guys in, I think helps just because they can kind of, push on those guys and kind of impress upon them how important it is to be a part of the class. Cam Fountain, that's one that Rodney likes a ton. I think that's a big deal, getting him up here this weekend. That one's going to be a big boy battle in that one. You look, elsewhere. I love Jaden Riddell, having him in town along with Jonathan Eccles. Those guys know about each other. So it's not like that, this isn't 1997 or whatever hubs where Travis Henry, Travis Stevens, and Jamal Lewis didn't know each other, right, before they got here. This is a different deal. Having Merklinger here is big. Peyton Lewis, that's one to watch. Daniel Hill, he's this year's Noah Rogers. If he shows up, he's no longer this year's Noah Rogers for me. Amari Jefferson, that's important to get him here. Again, I will continue to reiterate, Amari Jefferson is as important a recruit in this class as there is. Mike Matthews, that's great. Ryan Wingo, that's great. But a kid's an hour and 20 minutes down the road. You got to figure out a way to get that one done. If you get that one done and you can put one of those other guys with him and then hold on to J.J. Harrell, that's a phenomenal haul. Ronan O'Connell, back hubs, and I think that's a big deal because he was here back, probably about 6-8 weeks ago. To me, you got to reestablish kind of where you were, which was the team that, had a lot of momentum with him when he was last visiting.
Yeah, and I think with the interesting thing with Ronan is just kind of who else is really in it and where, what other schools is he truly diving into? We got to get that picture changed. Poor Ronan. I'm sorry, dude, man. That's not even close to what you look like these days. I feel bad for that photo. I got to get that swapped out. That's totally on me. But Austin, who else is really in it, right? Is the Big Ten going to come calling hard? A lot of people have said, this is a Tennessee laydown when you look at some other schools there. But I think the Big Ten, some of those Big Ten schools will be interesting to watch potentially with Ronan O'Connell.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I still lean Tennessee pretty heavily there, but he does have some ties up north. Does Notre Dame come calling? If they come calling, then I think that would be an eye opener for him. There's no doubt about that. And the other one that I would, if he makes it in, again, all these are subject to change, but if he makes it in, is linebacker Tylen Singleton. I've continued to say for 2 months that Tennessee had a ton of momentum with Tylen Singleton. And you look at TCU, look at LSU, but that one right there is one that I think bears watching immensely because I think, he and Edwin Spillman both going to be in here this weekend. And I know what the RPM says, but that ain't accurate. So, Tylen Singleton, I think is a Vol lean at this point as we head towards the end of May. But again, doesn't matter. Vol lean, not Vol lean. You got to figure out a way to get them in the boat.
And Rob, what a life we live when the Memorial Day weekend is arguably the biggest weekend in recruiting because of what it establishes from a foundation standpoint.
It really is nuts, Brent, when you think about just the time, the way, everything gets, not just gets now, but is accelerated. And you're not just talking about the 24s. I mean, there's going to be action on, 2025 kids, that weekend. I'm sure probably some select 26 kids. It's a brand new world, that's for sure, from the time when Eric Kane was coming out as a hot shot recruit.
Hey, Austin, kind of on that note, last year there wasn't many 24s. How many 25s and 26s will be in town?
I don't think any. Like, I think this is just straight 24s. If there are, they're not on the list that I got. But either way, I mean, it's a healthy list, healthy dose of big time guys. And again, that list subject to change. I think there could be a one or two other big time guys like a Dylan Stewart make it to town. Again, that list is who I think could make it. There's a few that have indicated they might be here, but it doesn't really. Don't want to get the hopes up of anybody. So you kind of we'll play a wait and see approach with some of those guys. But we'll see if a Dylan Stewart or somebody like that makes it to town this weekend. But either way, it's a massive recruiting weekend. Rob's right about that, and just how much it's changed in the last 3 or 4 years, much less the last 15 or 20. It's really night and day, and Rob's right about it's a lot different than when what did they call the Memorial Day event when you were coming out of Jeff County to go over to Carson Newman? What do they call that, the Mossy Creek Magic, or what was that?
I like the Mossy Creek Magic. That's a good way to phrase it.
Hey, AP, let me ask you about two guys. I mean, I think I know where you are on Sammy Brown, right? I know he's going to visit and all those things, but he certainly is. Tennessee is trailing pretty significantly there. Why does Daniel Calhoun keep coming back? What's because it feels like Tennessee's probably third there at best. What's the story with Daniel Calhoun?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tennessee's third at best. Big, massive offensive lineman from down near Atlanta. I'm just not sure he fits what Tennessee does.
I'm surprised he's big.
I agree.
I'm surprised he keeps coming back. Is kind of what I was getting at. I mean, it seems interesting that that one. I mean, he was here for an unofficial visit. Back a few months ago. It just seems kind of odd to me that he continues to return because it doesn't feel like that's Tennessee. But that's just me.
I think he likes the recruiting process.
Okay,
and I think it's not that like. He's not one that's a glory hound, but I think he loves to go see people, visit people. I think he likes to take trips, and I think he likes Glenn Ellerbe in Tennessee. Now, is it enough to pass Georgia and Alabama? I would lean no, but at the same time, I mean, he does keep showing up, and Tennessee's been to see him, and we'll kind of see where they go from there. But to me, like if you were saying, what kind of where's he at on Tennessee's offensive line board? I don't think he's the top target, and I think that's Brandon Baker. But again, getting a kid here from California is a tall task either.
All right, my last recruiting question, Eric. Then we'll roll on to the next topic or whatever. But my last one to you, Austin, is you mentioned Amari Jefferson, and I'm with you. I think Amari Jefferson is as big of a priority as anybody is in this class for Tennessee. Where is Tennessee with that one? What is kind of who are they fighting? What does that really look like, you think, at this point with Amari Jefferson?
I mean, I think it's it's really a three-headed monster. It's Georgia, it's Alabama, and it's Tennessee. And again, I would not consider those percentages to be correct. But again, that's all based off of metric and all that stuff. So, I personally think that this is a rather bit of a coin flip at this point. If you said kind of where's it at, I would say it's right around 33% for everybody. I think that this is something where, Tennessee has done a nice job of showing him how important he is to the class the last month or two. And, Kelsey Pope's done a nice job recruiting him, and we'll see kind of things where things fall. But if he makes it in town this weekend, that means he'll see Tennessee twice over the next 30 days, counting his official visit. And he's told me that he hopes to do something in the month of July. So, I like Tennessee's chances if he makes it in this weekend and having 2 visits in the next 30 days.
And baseball's not a factor at all anymore?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, he picked Tennessee, baseball when he committed to them for a reason. But I mean, yeah, I think he sees football as his future. The baseball thing, I think's, a blip on the radar or something that, all schools go say, yeah, you can play both. Sure. Just like they always do with all these kids.
Trayvon Flowers approach, right?
That's right. Trayvon was a heck of an outfielder until he wasn't.
I do have one more before we move on to another topic. Late last week, Tennessee does get a final commit and then a signing for the 2023 class, Emmanuel Okoye, which we've known is going to happen for a long time. Anything else on him? It feels like Alec Ablam was instrumental in getting him here to Tennessee, tied in his future, but a nice raw talent who could have a very high ceiling.
Yeah, we'll see where he's. I mean, I lean to tight end. That's where he'll start, but I don't think that that's by any stretch of the imagination some lock that that's all he's going to play.
Mhm.
I don't think he's really ever played tight end. So good looking athlete, long. What's he like blocking? What's he like running routes hubs? What's he like catching the ball? I mean, all things that you have to do to play tight end. So we'll see kind of where things go, but I would lean to him starting on the offensive side. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, my question, Rob, is, I mean, where is he from a football IQ standpoint? He's only played,
1 year.
basically 1 year of football. I mean, I label him as an athlete because I think this first year for him is truly a redshirt year, and it's a redshirt year where you're trying to figure out where he fits in for you best and what he can do, because he's as unpolished of a high school guy coming in as Tennessee's had in a while. It doesn't mean he's a bad athlete at all. It's just he's not done 7-on-7s. He's not done he doesn't have 10 years of football under his belt.
Yeah, he's just not played it since he was, a little kid. I think it's tough on the football side of things. I mean, and it's still in the infancy when you talk about the international prospects compared to what it is, in basketball. But it's not really equivalent because they don't even if it's not like soccer, overseas. I mean, basketball is still a big deal. I mean, Europe has a big league. It's Africa. Kids grow up playing that sport, and it's just not the same in football. And I know we have a limited sample size. Who just Chris Ikperogade, but I mean, I think you're going to see more and more of it, but of kids. That get identified early on and come up through these academies. But what you're talking about, Hubbard, the football IQ, how natural the game is to him. I mean, that's a big hurdle.
If he's playing this fall, Rob, then, he's either his athleticism just is so off the charts that it just bypasses his inexperience and to do everything, or Tennessee's had a ton of injuries at a particular position.
I mean, look, and again, I'm not criticizing anything, but I mean, he's playing football on a soccer field. There's no hash marks. There's no yard lines. I mean, I'm just saying in terms of understanding the game and talking about just getting on a board and talking the game of football. I mean, there's just a lot he's going to have to learn regardless of whatever position he's playing, because there's things he just hasn't seen in football because he's not played the game that way.
And who's he playing against there, right? I mean,
right.
What kind of players are playing for these schools? I mean, that's just something I don't think anybody can know.
It'll be interesting to watch how he progresses. He'll be on campus here in just a couple of days at the start of June for workouts, and ultimately try to figure out his role for 2023 and then beyond here for Tennessee.